It's decision week in Nigeria, exactly 1 day to the presidential and National Assembly elections. And we're counting down as Nigerians prepare to vote. Thanks for joining us on the program. You can join the conversation on social media using the hashtag TVC Countdown 2023. I am Abosedi Adeniran. More than 93 million are registered voters and 87,209,007 PVCs have been collected across the country and 6.2 million PVCs uncollected. Chairman of INEC, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, stated this at a media briefing in Abuja. Away from that, few days to the senatorial election, gunmen have killed the Labour Party senatorial candidate for Enugu East District in Amechi Okunano, a community in Enugu South local government area of Enugu State, southeast Nigeria. The victim, Oyibo Chukwu, was killed Wednesday evening alongside 5 supporters who were inside his vehicle. Our correspondent, Miyan Akiri, has a report.
It is a dark day for legal practitioners in the coal city, Enugu State, as they were gathered on Thursday to mourn the demise of a colleague. Oyibo Chukwu, before his death, was the senatorial candidate of the Labour Party, Enugu East. Some of the legal practitioners who spoke to TVC News say his death may have been politically motivated.
So we cannot say that it is politically motivated. But I think what has happened is that the insecurity in Enugu State has been left to be loose over the time, and the killers and these criminals got emboldened and are trying to stop us or discourage us from having our election. We are not against you agitation, but it should be civil. It should be done through legal means. This is unlawful. This is an aberration, and it is not. It's barbaric, and it is not acceptable to us.
We are pained with this news, and we want to make it very categorical to the authorities, the Commissioner of Police in Enugu, and the Enugu State government to ensure that the killers, the perpetrators of this very heinous crime, taking life out of someone, should be brought to book. We are giving them 48 hours to ensure that the killers of Oyibo Chukwu are brought to book.
In a statement released by the Commissioner of Police in Enugu State, it confirmed that 3 different attacks on 3 different candidates, the PDP, the APC, and the Labour Party, occurred same day.
Yesterday, a member of the bar in Enugu State, Barrister Oyibo Chukwu, lost his life. That same yesterday, a good Nigerian riding a branded motor vehicle of another political party was also involved in a similar incident that cost him his life. That same yesterday, another good Nigerian, a gubernatorial candidate, was attacked. He escaped because his God saved him. Now, who knows who will be the next victim?
As we count down to the presidential and National Assembly elections this weekend, legal practitioners from the 5 branches in Enugu State hope that the process will be peaceful. Miyan Akiri, TVC News, Enugu.
In a swift reaction, the Labour Party has asked the Independent National Electoral Commission to postpone election in Enugu East Senatorial District following the death of its candidate, Oyibo Chukwu. National Chairman of the party, Julius Abure, said the postponement is essential to enable the party conduct a fresh primary and participate in the election. Well, Miyan Akiri joins me from Enugu State now to give more updates. Miyan, such sad news so close to the election. Bring us up to speed on this development.
Well, Buster, thank you so very much. Let me just tell you that in Enugu State, there are 17 local governments, 5 in Enugu West, and we have 6 in Enugu East and also in Enugu North. In the last 44 hours, Enugu East has been a very high volatile environment in the state? Well, let me start with a PDP campaign minibus driver who was indeed burned to death. He was indeed identified as a KC. That was the name he's been called, KC, and then he was burned to death in Enugu East. Let me also say that in the area of the Enugu East, in what you call Amechi Okunano area precisely, a convoy of an APC gubernatorial candidate, but luckily that was repelled by security authorities in the eastern part of Enugu. But unfortunately, until his demise, he was the senatorial candidate, talking about Oyibo Chukwu. He lost his life. He was indeed killed in Enugu East. So the eastern part of Enugu has highly volatile, and 5 branches of the NBA in Enugu State chapter met today to mourn a colleague, because when Oyibo Chukwu, we understand that he's also a legal practitioner. And to a large extent, I must say that in the eastern part, going into the presidential election, it is tense, and they're not looking good. APC, PDP, Labour Party all have their candidates involved in one attack or the other, and unfortunately, the Labour candidate lost his life. That is Oyibo Chukwu.
As it is, Mian, the Labour Party chairman has called for postponement of election in that senatorial district. How is this demand being received by INEC and other persons involved now?
Well, INEC has not reacted to such. Yes, I'm aware of such. And then I must also say that with happened because the election, we understand, will go ahead. Over 2 million registered voters in the state looking forward to the election this weekend. So I'm not sure that any postponement will see the light of day as the Labour Party are called for because of the death of Oyibo Chukwu. But then, from what I've seen so far in the cold city, everything is set for this weekend, and we shall be having the presidential and also national election.
And definitely, Mian would stay, glued to you to get all the updates as they go down in the cold city. Thank you, Mian, for that update. Well, let's now give you a summary of polling unit and collation center agents that have been submitted by political parties for the 2023 general election. The APC has 176,223. Labour Party, 134,874. NNPP has 176,223. And the PDP has 176,588. Well, let's now join our correspondent in Abia State, Solomon Ajuziogu, to give us a situation report in the state. Solomon, what's the situation of things there ahead of the election?
Calm and peace is in Abia, especially in the capital, Umuahia, ordered by a group of the outlawed indigenous people of Biafra, IPOP group. Everybody here is going about his business. We are here at the INEC office and the CBN, where the sensitive materials and the beavers and all the other elements of the election are being moved into the vaults of the Central Bank of Nigeria, preparatory to moving them to the various local governments across Abia for the election coming up on Saturday, first of the presidential, and as well the National Assembly elections. But I must tell you here that since we came, it's been very, very much calm. You know that Umuahia here is the home of the founder of the outlawed group, the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOP, Nnamdi Kanu. It was thought that, okay, the sit-at-home order was going to take effect from today up till probably the 28th. And it's always been devastating when these orders are given. But here in Umuahia, it does not appear that there is anything like that, except if there's any other thing that will come up later. Although this earlier today, we heard about the attack on the police station in a town nearby called Gunabo. Aside from that, nothing else is here. At the INEC office and the CBN here, there are stern-looking soldiers stationed here and policemen ready for action to escort all the materials to the various local governments and to ensure that the elections go as scheduled on Saturday.
And as it is outside the country, we're hearing of the arrest of Simon Ekpa, who is reported, who is actually known for calling for the sit at home. With this arrest, do you see this having an impact on the turnout of people for the election on Saturday?
Usually to come out on the days when the sit-at-home order is given. It's not necessarily because they are in support of it, but because of the fear for their lives. There have always been a ruthless enforcement in some sections or in some parts of the southeast of the sit-at-home order, and so the people will stay away for their lives. As it is, at the moment, the people want to vote. People expect that the elections will go ahead.
Solomon Ajiziago for us there in Abia State, giving us situation report ahead of the elections. As he has mentioned, the people are ready to vote, and he has mentioned the movement of materials from INEC office to the different local government areas where they are to be kept ahead of the election. And he has also mentioned the presence of security operatives, soldiers, police officials, and NSCDC, and the rest of them trying to keep the calm and make the process seamless. Welcome back. Countdown is 1 day to the presidential and National Assembly elections in Nigeria. And the Women's Situation Room Nigeria is calling for peaceful polls ahead of the presidential and National Assembly elections. At a gathering in the nation's capital, Abuja, the event, graced by women stakeholders and partners of WSRN, including the UN Women Country Representative, Embassy of Canada, Federal Ministry of Women Affairs and Social Development. The group is calling on Nigerians to shun violence. And speaking of the 2 rapid assessments carried out in 10 states and the Federal Capital Territory, the National Coordinator of WSRN, Professor Joy Oyeso, observed that women stood out as a group most affected by violence. Professor Oyeso further explains that the factors that spur this violence include poverty, culture, and religion, among others. The National Coordinator of the WSRN, Professor Joy Oyeso, joins me on the program. Thank you for joining us on the program. Your group is calling on Nigerians to shun violence ahead of the polls. What really are the yardstick put in place to monitor and protect women during the electoral process?
Good evening, everyone. I'm speaking from the Women's Situation Room Observatory for the 2023 elections. And we're all ready. Today we deployed our 350 all-female team into different states of the Federation. We're covering the 6 geopolitical zones, and we're all ready to observe the elections from a gendered perspective. Now, we're going to be watching out for 4 key indicators. The first one is violence against women across the different states where we are deployed. And what we are going to do for this election is we've set up state observatories in the 10 states, in our 10 focal states plus FCT, where we have a national observatory. And we are working in strong collaboration with the police, NOA, the Federal Ministry of Women Affairs, INEC Gender Office. And once we receive incidents of violence against women or any feedback on non-performance of the beavers, we're going to escalate to the relevant stakeholders. And the view is to get a very good response within the shortest time possible.
Indeed, and we understand that international partners of the WSRN have equally pledged support to stamp out violence against women ahead of the polls in Nigeria. How possible will this be?
The truth is that, we're going to do all that we can to stamp out violence. We do know that some incidents of violence are going to happen, no matter what we do. But the most important thing is to provide quick response and also to sensitize people on the need to have zero tolerance for violence, especially for violence against women in these elections. One of the key factors that deter women from participating in the elections, either as candidates or as voters or as election monitor, is violence. And so with the commitment of the different stakeholders, different stakeholders especially, because they are the ones on ground tasked with the mandate of ensuring that we have a violence-free environment. With a strong commitment from these stakeholders, we strongly believe that all is ready and we would get very quick response wherever we have any violent situation.
You mentioned sending out about a group of 350 all-women team to monitor the elections. And what is the feedback mechanism? I mean, how do they send reports back to you? Is it right on the spot, or is the assessment meant to take place after the conduct of the election?
Okay, we have two ways of getting feedback from our observers. The first one is the real-time data that we get into the situation observatory, which comes through the phone calls they make into the room, the WhatsApp messages they send into the room. So they feed us with information. They use the checklist which we've provided and which we've trained them on before deployment to give us real-time data. Then post the elections, we'll do an assessment or a debriefing to get feedback as to what they observed in the field and other things that happen. But real-time data comes into the field from the deployed observers.
And what kind of support have you been receiving from security agencies and other stakeholders in this election to ensure that your team is able to carry out your duty without any fears?
Yeah, I must confess that we've had very strong support from the security sector across all the states where we've deployed. We've been received with very warm embrace, and INEC has also been very receptive. The State Ministry of Women Affairs, anyway, we've received very strong support and collaboration from this strategic stakeholder, especially the security agencies. We're also going to work in a collaboration with them, feeding into their situation room hotline, which they have given to us. And we also have a hotline which we'll be putting out which is already out, and we're asking citizens to just call in anywhere they find violence or see anything. Our motto is, you see violence, you speak out. And the police and other security agencies have promised to respond swiftly.
And I want to believe that beyond sending out a team of women to monitor the elections, you would also be interested in seeing more women actively participate in the election process. What are you doing to actually make this happen?
Yeah, before now, we've carried out a number of capacity buildings and also sensitization. Encourage women to come out, first of all, to get registered, those that haven't, to get their PVC, and then come out as voters. And then also to the stakeholders who are also responsible to monitor, like INEC, we give strong recommendations to have female election monitors sent out across the different states. And then even to the police, we also made recommendations, and we're happy to see that all these recommendations have really been taken on board. And then as to the female candidates, like I mentioned earlier, one of the deterring factors for women participation in politics is violence. So seeing that we're trying so hard to create an enabling environment which is violence-free is also a major booster to the women candidates. But more still needs to be done in terms of providing the legal environment for women representation to be on the increase.
Indeed, we look forward to having more women on board. And in this case, I want to believe you're looking at meritocracy, not just because they're women.
Oh, yes. And I also want to mention that we shouldn't set the bar higher than we do for men. This is often the tendency in Nigeria. We tend to raise the bar higher than we do for men. So when we don't look at that for men, why do we want to put women on a higher pedestal? So the key thing is, let's have people, women, men, who merit, occupying that position, but we shouldn't set a different bar for women that we do for men. So it's have everyone who merits, coming to that position and leading this country, bringing that transformative change that we want to see in the right office.
And there have also been concerns, actually, that there seem to be so many programs out there, so many projects and policies targeted at women, getting them more involved, and fewer number of them targeted at the men. What do you say about striking a balance?
We don't even have a balance. It's not a level playing field because already men have it all. When you look at the structural limitations, the cultural limitations, the legal limitations women have in participating in politics, all we're trying to even do here is to have a special temporary measure to ensure that women come at par with men. But that is not even happening. Let's look at the current House. How many women do we have occupying seats in the current House? And so it's still, I know people say, oh, we're doing a lot for women, and that's because there is a need. There is a huge gap in representation, and this really needs to be, closed. And until that happens, sensitization will continue, more programs will be on ground, and then, we'll keep on engaging with the different stakeholders to make that happen.
National Coordinator, Women's Situation Group Nigeria, Professor Joy Onyeso. Thank you very much for talking to us and wishing you and your team all the best.
Thank you so much. But before I leave, I want to give our toll-free number, which is 0800 3425 9776. And I encourage Elle to call in. It's completely free. We're on ground waiting to receive your calls. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Onyeso. Well, there are also hotlines from INEC and the police, all the security agencies. So if you notice anything, just put a call through and report your observation. But that's our program today. Do follow us on TVC Countdown 2023. Use the hashtag and let's have your comments on social media. I am Abosedi Adeno Aderemi. Good evening.